Another New Year's is coming up, which means that I will soon be glaring at the night sky watching fireworks. However, with the current situation in North Korea, I wouldn't be completely surprised if I saw something a little more powerful than a firework explode in our sky. Paul Mazur addresses this topic in his New York Times editorial titled, "Trump Can't Stop Trade with North Korea, but he does have options." And this was published on September 4th of this year. In the editorial, Mazur attempts to give the U.S. options in which to pursue in dealing with this issue. However, a lot of his statements are not well defined, and a lot of areas of his argument lack depth. And so I'll look at 3 of these areas in which I feel they lack depth, and I will offer my position on this supported by external sources. So this leads me to my first point, in which Paul Mazur talks about China providing cash to North Korea, in which this cash, quote, provided the capital to expand a nuclear weapons and missile program increasingly capable of hitting the United States. And so he establishes this relationship, but he never goes to determine or identify the extent to which this relationship exists. So I could see China providing just enough cash where North Korea was able to buy maybe 10 of these launchers, or they could be providing a lot of cash in which a whole arsenal of ballistic missiles would be able to be attained by North Korea. And I know this is an exaggeration, but he never offers this extent. And so I had to pursue different avenues of information, and I found that the website titled Council of Foreign Relations gave me this information. It said that the China-North Korea trade reached $2.6 billion in the first half of this year. And so what I realized is that this is really a two-headed monster comprised of North Korea and China. And so to get to North Korea, we really need to attack Chinese companies. And so this is where I found my second issue with the article. I found that Mazur only says, quote, that the U.S. could more broadly target Chinese companies that do business in North Korea. He never went more specific than that. He never offered a battle plan like, say, George S. Patton did in World War II, in which he never sat down his troops and offered them a big question mark. No, he offered them a detailed, deeply rooted in reason plan in how to defeat their enemies, and that's why he was so successful. And so I think that this kind of Patton perspective should be reflected in this article, and it's not. And so I again pursue a different place to find this information. I found that CNBC found this for me, and it said that the U.S. should be first to target Bank of China, which they found that according to a 2016 report that North Korea used this bank to evade sanctions. And so not only if we targeted the Bank of China would we allow and force North Korea to abide by these sanctions, but we would establish the U.S. as a world power that's saying we are willing to take action, and that really, I think, would be a great deal for the U.S. to pursue. This brings me to my third and final point, which I found that there was an error in the main point of Mazur's argument, which says that stopping all trade with North Korea would also, quote, mean economic disaster for the United States as well. And so I found that this word disaster was never clearly defined. So one definition of disaster could be reflected in the Blue Bell Listeria disaster, in which Blue Bell actually bounced back. So would America bounce back? I'm not sure. The second definition of disaster that we could see is the Tiger Woods cheating disaster. Would America bounce back? Well, according to this definition, Tiger Woods didn't, so why should America? So I found that this definition is better defined in Business Insiders. This website says that stopping all trade would mean halting $1.6 trillion in trade. And so this provided a greater definition of disaster, and that would hurt America. And so in conclusion, I found 3 places that are really lacking. The first of which, the extent to which Chinese cash is developing the nuclear weapons capabilities of North Korea. Second, what companies do we pursue in China? That's not clearly defined. Lastly, what's the definition of disaster? So we obviously see that we need to do more research and clearly define a deep strategy to pursue in dealing with this issue.